you to take notes. And if you have any questions, please reach out to my academic team, and we are here to support you. We're here to support all of our students at Roosevelt Middle. This is one of many things that keeps me up at night, making sure that we are meeting all the needs of our children. So, but we cannot do that without your support, parents, getting involved, finding out what's going on in the classrooms and how you could better to support them so that they could be on track, again, for their promotional goals as well as for high school graduation. And so without further ado, I'm going to start the process and turn it over to, I have Mr. Fletcher here. He's my magnet coordinator as well as my science coach. I have my SSCC, single school culture coordinator, Miss Mia Potenza, and they're going to start the process of just going over FSA. I also have my testing coordinator, Miss Lori Jones, who's also the 6th grade assistant principal, and she will walk you through the testing process. So I'm just going to not say too much and allow them to say everything, and then let you guys have whatever necessary questions that you want to pose to them so that we can make sure your students are successful. So again, parents, thank you. Thank you again for our turnout tonight. And Mr. Fletcher, if you want to start the process and take it away.
All right, Mr. Fletcher, I'm going to ask you if you can man the chat since I'll be presenting. Don't have my double computer screens like I do at school. All right, so welcome everyone. Like Mr. Stewart said, my name is Mia Potenza. I am the single school culture coordinator here at Roosevelt Middle School. And today we're going to be talking about the FSA and what testing is going to look like this year and how you can best help your child get ready for those assessments. To be honest, they haven't done it in about 2 years because of what happened last year at the end of the year. So we really need to start getting our kids in that mindset of we are being held accountable as students that to perform our best on these assessments at the end of the year. Those do play a part into what their schedule will look like next year. So we want to make sure that they're getting switched into that mindset and of this is something that is important. This is something that counts for me in my education. And that's where you all come into play as their parents. So to start, according to the Florida Department of Education, all assessments must be taken on campus. There are no exceptions. So I sent out an email to all these students and parents earlier today, and then you probably just received a call out from Ms. Jones with a survey. So if your child is virtual, in order to take the FSA or the science test or their civics, EOC, or algebra or geometry, whatever test they have to take, they do have to come on campus for that. Ms. Jones, would you like to expand on that any more before I continue?
I know you're doing a great job. Continue.
Okay. So please, if you check your emails or if you don't get the school email, your child has it in their email, get that survey back to us as soon as possible. It's really going to help our testing team navigate testing as easy as possible, especially for those students that are normally at home, to make it a smooth transition for them to come on campus to take those assessments. All right, so by grade level, if your child is in 6th grade, they're going to be taking the reading, writing test and math. So those have asterisks next to it because they are going to be paper-based. They do not take anything on the computer. If your child is in 7th grade, they're going to be taking the reading, writing, their math, and then they have a civics EOC at the end of the year as well. For 8th grade, they have reading, writing, math, and then they have the science end of year test. So there is a little bit of difference between each grade level with those extra civics and science tests as well. So hopefully you can see this. It might be kind of small, but I'll explain what it says. So just how long are your kids going to be testing, especially if your kid is virtual and they're going to have to come on campus? So the first part is the ELA for reading and writing. So I'm going to get more into the writing part soon, but for all of our students, writing is going to be one session, and it's 120 minutes. So that will be one day. They'll come in, they'll have 2 hours, 120 minutes. If they have accommodations, obviously it will change, but this is just the general guidelines. So for ELA, for the reading part, no matter which grade they are in, it will be 2 days. They will have a session each day, and each session will be 80 minutes. Well, you can see, 85 minutes. So for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, those sessions are 85 minutes. So a total of 170 minutes for that reading test. You can see the 6 has the asterisk next to it again, because that means it's a paper-based test. So for math on the bottom, math tests are 2 days. We also have geometry and algebra. I think that's on the next slide, but just put all math together. So each one of those is also going to be a 2-day test. For 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, it is a total of 3 sessions. It is broken apart by which sessions they can and cannot use the calculator. But for each one of those sessions, they're going to be 60 minutes, or for a total of 180 minutes, broken apart amongst those 2 days for testing. Okay, so here's the algebra and geometry if your kids are taking either of those high school level classes. There are 2 days, 2 sessions, 90 minutes each. So algebra, geometry, and I'm going to talk about civics because those are combined. Those are considered EOC courses, which means end of course assessments. They count as their overall total of their grade for that class. So it counts as 30% of the grade for that class. So yes, it says they have 90 minutes, or for civics, they have 160 minutes. But the way those assessments work is if your kid is not done testing, when that time is up, they're more than welcome to continue testing. They have, it says for math, they have up to half the day. And for civics, they have up to the whole day. So they are encouraged to take their time and do their best. And then in the green, for our science, for our 8th graders, that is a 1-day test. That 1 day is going to be split into 2 sessions, which are 80 minutes. So that's a longer one for our students because they have to do both of those sessions in that 1 day, in that one sitting. And then in the bottom, the only one that accounts for us is civics. That's our 7th graders. And that's 1 test, 160 minutes, 1 session. So that is a lot for those students to sit through. They have 1 session. That's it, 160 minutes. But like I said, if they're not done, they can continue working. So overall, so we're going to go into each test individually, but overall, how can you help your child prepare for their assessments? Hopefully you've been getting all my emails. You should know that your child has tutoring and Saturday boot camp for extra practice and review. So during the week, we have weekly tutoring virtually from 3:30 to 4:30, Monday through Thursday. Each day is a different subject. And Saturday boot camp from 9 to 12 virtually. So those rotate between the different subjects, but those are there for your child to get extra support. The weekly tutoring is more geared toward homework help. The Saturday boot camp is more for us to target standards we know your kids need extra support in, and giving your kids direct instruction and practice in on those standards. One of the biggest things we can ask is for parents to check SIS at least weekly to check your child's grades. We hear a lot of times, especially progress reports, I didn't know my kid had a D, or I didn't know my kid had these zeros. Please check SIS as much as possible. The better your kid does in their class, the more prepared they are for that FSA or whatever assessment they're taking. Once you fill out that survey and that testing calendar is released, know which days your child is testing, whether they're normally a brick and mortar kid and it's just a normal day for them, or they're a virtual student, they need to come in. It's going to be a weird year for testing because of everything going on. We want to keep your kids as safe as possible. So we need to know who's going to be on campus which days. So please make sure you are in contact with Ms. Jones or Dr. Brown to know which days your kid is testing. On those days, make sure your kid is on time. If they're late and the test is started, we cannot stop it and let your child in late. So once they know which days, make sure your child is on time. We do have free breakfast for all of our students. It's a grab and go style breakfast. They get their breakfast and then go to class. So please make sure they're on time. They can get their breakfast and they can be in class. They're not rushed. They're not panicking before that assessment starts. So I'm going to talk about math specifically. So math is the one that's a little bit different because different math classes take different assessments. If your child is in any sort of 6th grade math, 6th regular or 6th advanced, they're all taking the 6th grade FSA. And that is the one that is paper-based. If your child is in 7th grade regular math, that means they're taking the 7th grade FSA. If your child is in 7th grade advanced or 8th grade regular, they're going to take the 8th grade FSA. So that is the one that's a little bit different. Those advanced kids jump to the 8th grade test. They're being taught the 8th grade standards in a 7th grade advanced class. If your child is in Algebra 1 or Geometry, so those are both EOC and of course assessments, those count as 30% of their overall grade for that class. So if your child does not show up for their EOC, we cannot give them their grade for this school year until they take that EOC the following year in the fall. Algebra 1 is a high school requirement to graduate. So they have to pass that EOC in order to graduate. So our goal, especially if they're taking it in middle school, is that they go to middle school, they have that algebra credit, they already have their math requirement to graduate. So those two especially are extremely important because we can't give them their grade until they've actually taken the EOC. We don't want to give it to them later. Chances are they're going to forget what they've learned. It's fresh in their brain now. Our goal is to get all of those students tested and prepared for high school, like Mr. Stewart said. We want them to go into high school ready. All right, so how can I help my child prepare for their math assessment? If your child is virtual, when we get back from spring break, we are going to have FSA review packets for you to pick up at school. All the math classes that are the middle school level, not our algebra or geometry, but the rest of our classes have started an FSA review this week. Each week, they're going to focus on 4 to 5 standards and start reviewing to get your students ready. Now, we noticed a lot of the kids at home, well, we know they don't have printers, but they're trying to take notes and try to follow along as best as they can, but it would be a lot easier if they could just have that paper printed in front of them. So those packets will be available. You expect a call out from myself or Mr. Stewart, which days you can come pick them up, but there will also be science materials and ELA. So anything that we can print for you to provide for your student at home, we're going to try to do our best to have them as prepared as possible with as many resources as possible. Make sure your child completes at least 1 hour per week on their designated math program. So if they're in a 6th through 8th grade math, we have recently started iReady. They should have completed the iReady diagnostic recently in class. The goal for that program to work is that they use at least 45 to an hour per week. That program, through that diagnostic, will find out exactly where your child is strong and where they're a little bit weaker in. And it will feed them lessons on those weaker areas to build them up back to where they need to be. If your child is in algebra or geometry, they are on IXL. It's a very similar program, just more geared towards those high school standards. All right, the ELA assessments. So the ELA test is a 2-part test with the writing and the reading. Our writing test, which you probably noticed your kids have started hitting hard in those ELA classes, begins April 5th. So that first week of April, or first full week of April, is the writing test. The writing test counts for 10% of their overall ELA score. So then we're going to take the writing test in beginning of April, and then in May, they're going to take the second part of that test, which is the reading test. That counts for 90% of their overall score. So for ELA, how can you help your child? Have your child explain some of the ELA strategies they use in class. If they're doing a homework assignment, have an article, ask them to explain what's some strategies your teacher uses you. How do you unpack a question? What does that mean? What does that look like for you? Understanding academic vocabulary. Simple questions like explain or compare. What do those words mean? We want to make sure our children know those words. So once they see them on the test, they know what to do. And it is highly recommended that they are on Reading Plus at least 30 minutes a night to build fluency and reading comprehension at their specific reading level. Reading Plus is a huge program to help them make sure that they have filled any gaps that they might have had, especially due to COVID with the virtual learning. We know some of our students have regressed. Reading Plus is going to figure out where they are and feed them lessons pretty similar to iReady to get them back to where they need to be. All right, Ms. Roy, is Ms. Jackson with you?
Yes, she is. I'm right here.
All right, take it away, Ms. Jackson.
Okay, so good evening, Ms. Jackson. I'm the civics team leader and social studies department chair. And I want to talk to you about the end of course exam and getting your child prepared for that test. So all 7th graders and some 8th grade students are slated to take this test. It is 30% of their overall grade. And I don't know if you've heard any of the students saying this, but we normally say performance matters does matter. So if your student is not performing well in performance matters, we have been contacting parents regularly to let you know, hey, this is what's going on with the data. This is what we can do to help prepare your child to move forward. Now, there will be a spring mock assessment in May at the end of the curriculum. So it is going to gauge how much has your student grown since the winter diagnostic. So how can you help your child prepare for your civics assessment? There are online tutorials available. So we start with floridastudents.org, which is the teacher favorite. The students are used to this platform and we assign it regularly in class. However, the students have access outside of their assignment, so they can go back to that website at any point in time and practice those skills. There's also videos on YouTube. Recommended channels are Mr. Raymond's Civics EOC, FLVS, which is Florida Virtual School. And there's also a channel called Civics Review. It's about 3 or 4 minutes. So even if your child practices with any of these videos, it's anywhere from, like I said, 4 to 20 minutes. It will definitely help them to hone those skills. Civics 360 is something we also use in class, and the students can register as a student and continue to practice those skills. And then the student favorite is iCivics Games. Now there's sample questions available for the end of course exam, and I can have those ready for you. Just email me at siobhan.jackson@palmbeachschools.org, and I will send you those materials.
Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Fletcher. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the science NGSS assessment. It's for all 8th grade. All 8th grade students will take the test. The test is a paper-based test, and all students have to be on campus to take the test. Next slide, please. So I'm going to tell you little things that we have in store for your students to practice on. If you haven't noticed, if anyone haven't told you, we do Saturday tutorials and also after school help on Tuesdays. This is highly suggested because the science test is it's an application test. Our students need to practice these questions along for success. So what are we going to do? As of 2-3 weeks ago, we started practicing in class on techniques and strategies of taking this test. The students should be aware of how to use these strategies. And the one thing that you can do is to make sure that they are practicing these strategies at home. So what we have done is created a bell ringer question packet for your students to take home when we come back from spring break. Now, these practice tests, we would want them to practice the strategies that they're working on in school right now to take it. It shows them how to unpack the questions, understanding the vocabulary to answer the science questions. Students are students that are brick and mortar on campus, they will receive a copy of the packet during lunch on Tuesday, March 23rd. People that are virtual, that at home, we will have that packet access for you on the school's website. All you will have to do is look for the science packet on the website, and you can download it, and the students will be able to practice these bell ringer questions. Now, for the students to get extra credit for these questions, on the day of the test, which will, I think it's around the second week in May, the day of the test, they will have to bring those packets to the school. Now, I'm going to show you my next slide is going to show you what they have been working on. This is a sample strategy sheet that our students are working on daily in class, and it's helping them to understand the question. So what you see there on the far right hand side is a sample question that is on the test. And then we show them the strategies. What are the steps they need to take as they are answering these questions? These are the skills that they need to practice every day with these bell ringers. We expect them to answer the bell ringers the same way they're going to answer the questions on the test. So if you see them working on it, the term you will use is marking the test up. So they should be underlining, circling. You should see they should see things that they don't know. What is the question asking? And they should be able to come up with the answer. Again, marking the test is very important because this is a paper pencil test. This is not on the computer. They can mark on the test booklets as they're taking the test. Now the test is 160 minutes. They will have 2 80-minute sessions all in one day. This is not a 2-day test. This is a 1-day test. Okay. If you have any questions, please don't be afraid to give me a call at Roosevelt and I'll help you out. Thank you.
All right, and then the last part is where you can find some extra resources for your child. So at the top, you can see the website. This is the website that they use to take all of these assessments. It's called fsassessments.org. So that's where the teachers and the students log in. But on the right, if you notice where it says practice tests. So your child will be going through these at home or at school or virtually with their teachers. But those practice tests are available for you to go through with your child as well, especially the 7th and 8th graders that have their tests online. They need to be comfortable using the online testing platform. We are going to expose your child to it as much as possible during school hours, but if they are also using that practice test, like Mr. Fletcher said, to mark up the text, are they using those tools online to eliminate those answers, to circle key things? So when they're doing those practice tests and they have those resources, it walks them through all of the different tools and all of the different ways they could be asked questions on those assessments. So unlike when most of us took assessments for college or high school, we know the SAT, ACT is all multiple choice. Well, that's not how it looks like anymore for our students. They have about 10 different ways that they can possibly answer a question. They can have to make a table. They can have drag and drop type questions where they have to drag answers to something else. There's so much technology embedded in their tests now that we need to make sure that they're ready for it. So those practice tests are available on fsassessments.org. And like I said, they will be doing it in class, but the more practice they get, the more comfortable they are with the testing platform, the better they're going to be and the more comfortable they're going to be on test day. All right, so I am going to stop presenting. I know that was a lot, and I do apologize for throwing all of that at you at once. But are there any questions that we can answer for you?
Ms. Potenza, I wanted to at least add that Ms. Roy is also recording this. And so once this meeting is done, we're going to have our media specialist to post it on our website, school website, so that those parents that were not able to join can go back and take a look at the video. So parents, that way you can kind of stop, pause, and go through the information that Ms. Potenza, Mr. Fletcher, and Ms. Jackson had gone over with you tonight. And again, feel free to call us at any time. My team is here to assist and support you. We are all trying to get through this process together. It is a unique and different process this year, but we're going to get through the process. So we're here to support you. We want to make sure that everybody is successful. And the only way we can be successful is with knowing the proper information. I also wanted to throw out something to you parents. I'm the principal. I'm also a parent at Roosevelt Middle as well. My son is a 6th grader here, and I've already, if you're able to purchase some resources, then you can. I just highly want to recommend, I bought something called Florida Test Prep. They have it is a FSA, daily FSA practice workbook. And they have them for all grade levels, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And so my son, he thinks he's going to play video games over spring break. No, he going to work because I'm serious about making sure that he stays on track. So you could either buy it off of Amazon, or you can go to Barnes & Nobles, and they have a big display of FSA materials if you go into Barnes & Nobles. It's called Florida Test Prep. They have one for the writing, they have one for the reading, the math, et cetera, et cetera. If you're able to go out and purchase some workbooks for your children so that they can do daily practices, I would recommend that to you. And now just want to continue to open the floor if there have any questions from any of the parents that are here.
Mr. Stewart, question was asked, what happens if a student don't take the test?
That's a very good question, and I appreciate that. And I'm going to let all parents know that I'm very transparent. I'm going to be very honest. It is not my recommendation, first of all, that occurs, but that is your right as a parent. But on the other hand, the main piece of this at taking the FSA is in reference to data. We want to make sure that when we are building our schedule for your child next year, we base a lot of that on the data. And we want to make sure that if we're looking for your child to take advanced, honors, and high school credit courses, that's based on their reading, math score. So just keep that in mind. Same thing with 8th graders that are going to high school. If they're interested in taking honors level courses, AP, IB courses, they have to have an FSA reading score and a math score. And they're looking for certain students that score a certain score. So just keep if you're thinking about not letting your child take the test, that will impact and can impact your child's schedule and what they take. Because think about it, we didn't take one last year, so it's hard for us to determine 2 years now going on 3 years whether they should take a honors or advanced or honors level course. So you have that right not to let them take it, but it can and will impact their schedule potentially if we don't have the data to make the appropriate decision.
Also, if we have any 8th grade parents in here, if your son or daughter put in for a magnet program, just keep in mind though, some of those programs require certain things. If they don't have the test completed, that is grounds for not being accepted into the program also.
Are there any other questions for us before we turn it back over to Ms. Roy?
And we have Ms. Jones, our testing coordinator. Ms. Jones, did you have any information that you wanted to add to the testing schedule, or are you good for now?
Good evening. I'm good for now. The testing schedule has been posted on our website and it will be sent to parents after spring break. But as for now, I'm good. I think Ms. Potenza covered it well. We may have to give her a new title, test coordinator.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Jones. We appreciate that recommendation. Any other questions for the good of the order? Any other questions? All right, Madam Chair, I'm going to turn it over to you. I want to say thank you to everyone for coming out. Thank you, academic team, administrators, Ms. Jackson, my department chairperson. Thank you guys for taking the time this evening. I know we all tired, but we're doing what we have to do for children. That's what our bottom line is. So Madam Chair, take it away. And we wish everybody a wonderful evening.
Before everybody logs off, I just want to say thank you for attending our parent FSA workshop. The information that was given to you was very important for just you and your student here. If you did miss the workshop for any reason or didn't get enough information, like Mr. Stewart said, we will have it online, and we are also available here at the school throughout the week. Well, tomorrow's Friday. We'll be on spring break next week, but we'll be here to answer any questions. And one last thing, we have our official SAC meeting will be held on March 25th. I'm pleading that all of you come back, because in that meeting, we will ask SAC for funds to give snacks and just peppermints and things of a little FSA kit for your kids while they're on campus to keep them alert and just energized to finish the test, because as you heard tonight, they're going to be sitting for quite a bit, and we want to make sure we have everything that they need to be successful. And we're looking for our SAC members to help fund that for our students. So our next meeting will be March 25th. It's the following Thursday, and we would like to see everyone back. The Google link that you are on now will be used for that meeting. So please feel free to log on so that we can have all participants. And if any other things occur, we'll be able to answer those questions and give you our information there. And thank you, Mr. Stewart, and everyone else. We can adjourn this meeting or this workshop. And until next time, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything.